Hi guys, Artiar here. So for this video is about the Ossana first impression about her. So I already tested her at the live stream there. TLDR, if you really want to watch like how the gameplay looks like or how is she working. So this video here I won't put her testing video part. Alright. If you want to check that part, you can go to the live stream. So I'll put the link under the video description if you want to check that part. So but for this video I'll go through what her skill does. I'll just explain the TLDR, what she's able to do or what she's not able to do, and then at the back of the video I'll put a showcase that I feel like what she have the potential to be, but not the bleed Esper. Right? If she had a bleed Esper, she have a new tier called Ossanna Tier at the lowest tier, because she really sucks if you are trying to build her as a bleed DPS. Alright, so let's take a look here. So Ossana game model is pretty cool. I won't say that it's my type, but it's a cool. I know someone really actually like the design. It's like really like the body itself is really good. The design itself is pretty good. It's like Jinuya or Pandora vibe thing. A lot of stuff combined together. So what her leader buff, she have an attack leader buff of 30%, is a universal leader buff, and then S1 here deals damage to one enemy and then inflict bleed. Very simple skill kit. And then if we take a look at the skill ascension here, S3 inflicts bleed on one enemy for 3 turns, and then attack the enemy for 2 times, which is a total of 300% attack, and then you absorb 60% of the AP. Also a very simple skill kit, right? And then the passive. So at the start of the round, she will get 3 stacks of Phantom Pain. So what the Phantom Pain is, increased attack plus 2% and maximum up to 100 stack, and these 100 stacks here can go up to 200% attack. It is a very strong passive buff, and it will retain in subsequent round, which means every you can, like, wave 1 have like 15 stack, then when you go to wave 2 you will start from the 15 stack and then increase another 3 stack. It won't wear off just because you go to a next wave, right? Then how to increase the Phantom Pain is when enemy receive a debuff, Ossana will gain 1 stack of Phantom Pain. This debuff here is every single debuff on every single enemy. So let's say there's 5 enemy and you apply debuff, and then 5 of them will instantly get at least 1 debuff, right? Then you're gonna get 5 stacks. So stacking the Phantom Pain is very easy. Then at the start of her turn, she will inflict 3 stacks of bleed at the enemy with the highest attack for 2 turns, and this effect will ignore resist, which means no matter how you're gonna apply the bleed on that target. If the target has bleed, instantly apply 1 turn of the bleed value damage after Ossana actively attack. It have to be actively, which means like Avatara, like assist attack, like pursuit attack. This kind of effect won't trigger the bleed damage. It have to be her turns, which means you cannot build her too slow. Then if you want to trigger the bleed, then you cannot build her too slow. Okay, that's the part. Then each stack of the bleed damage will be applied. So if you have 10 stack of bleed, then it will apply all the 10 stacks. So 10 stack of bleed, which is 750% of the debuff attack. And if you level it up, it can go up to 7 stack of Phantom Pain when you start the battle. Okay, so at the start of the battle, you get 7 stack instead of 3. Okay, then basically that's what she does. And then the divinate part is when you cast your S3, you have a 100% chance to inflict 2 stack of bleed, which makes your S3 able to apply bleed for 3 stack. So 3 stack of bleed on 1 target, and then when your passive here will also inflict 3 stack of bleed to that target, which is a total of 6 bleed. So 6 bleed with 75% damage is like 450% extra damage as a bleed. Okay, so a few things for those players who doesn't know how the bleed works yet. Okay, so the first thing you need to know about bleed is kind of one of the weakest debuff in the game. Like if you have to look for a damage based debuff, everyone is going to go for poison and no one will go for bleed. Alright, maybe you would say Embla have bleed, but we use Embla is not because of her bleed. It's mainly for corrupted seed, then the bleed is just some extra damage. That's the reason why bleed is never the good damage debuff, because poison is a better choice. So I think that you trying to make Ossana to make her bleed set works is actually too hard. So what I did on the live stream, I think you have to really go check it out if you want to have more detailed showcase for that. But what I did on the live stream is I made Ossana like pure attack to pump as high damage as high attack as possible, to make use of the Phantom Pain to increase her 200% attack, and then give up a lot of buff to her to increase the bleed damage. Even the bleed is not able to crit, but bleed is able to scale the damage through seer, through, let's say, the Yalina's passive, the damage increase, or defend down, or any kind of thing that actually matters. So you can consider bleed as a raw damage like Genie, but it cannot be crit. So it's just a raw damage there. It cannot scale with crit, but it can scale with defend break, it can scale with seer, it can scale with damage taken increase. All these things will affect the bleed damage. This is tested since 7 months ago when the Yalina showcase. So this is how the bleed works. It can increase the damage, but it cannot crit. Then the main problem is the cannot crit part. So why Emblast's damage is so high? Because her Corrupted Seed explosion is actually able to crit, but bleed is not able to crit. That's why when we are trying to make her as to be a bleed god, it's actually not the case. So what I tested to make her be good, because I actually too focused on the bleed until someone in the live stream actually remind me that what if we don't care about the bleed? We treat the bleed as the additional damage, and we actually fully utilize the Phantom Pain. Because this Phantom Pain is, if we don't look at the bleed, we just look at the multiplier itself from Ossana, it's actually a very juicy multiplier. So Phantom Pain increased 200% from her passive, and then if we look at her multiplier, her S3 multiplier here is actually 300% on one target, and then absorbs 60% of her AP. And then this skill here is a 2-turn CD skill. So you see 3 turn here, right? And if we take a look here, we can CD reduce by 1 turn. It makes her S3 become 2 turn CD with if you hit 2 times, it's a 330% DPS output. And this DPS here will get scaled by the Phantom Pain, 200% increase. Damage you can also get benefit by crit damage increase, because this damage here is able to crit, and also like seer, all those debuff things, everything will crit, and bleed is just the additional damage. If we treat it in that way, then Ossana might be actually good. Why I say might is because in PTR server, my equipment isn't strong enough to actually make her work in Falsetto Fantasy first. Because I think she's only a PvE expert, I don't think she's gonna be a PvP expert. Because in PvP meta, we don't really use bleed. So if you, in terms of DPS wise, we have a lot more better expert. So I don't think Ossana is gonna be a PvP expert. I think Ossana is gonna be a PvE expert. I think Ossana might be a very good DPS. Okay, so later I will showcase you her damage output is pretty impressive as a R0 no divinate no skill up expert. Okay, so we take a look at the resonance first. So R2 effect here, after applying the bleed damage, it dispels 2 debuff from each ally. So basically it makes her as a debuffer as well, but I don't think that this really changes too much. And then the R4 effect here, when elemental advantage, damage increase, I don't think this really affects too much as well. R6 effect, at the start of Ossana's turn, inflict 5 stack of bleed on the enemy with the highest. So what the changes is, originally is 3 stack of bleed, they increase it to 2 stack. 5 stack. So basically another 150% DPS output that cannot be crit, because two more stack, right? So 75% plus 75%, 150%. Basically that is the changes for R6. So resonance wise isn't impressive at all. I don't think this dispel debuff actually works very good. Of course, I'm gonna make more showcase for that to actually test about it. But R6 effect here, I don't think it's impressive as well, because the 5 stack don't really matters, I feel, because you already have 3 stack here. Okay, so I think the only good reso for her, if you really want to reso her, I think R0 is already enough. I think R1 is where you can actually stop. Because this S3 here, final damage increased by 10%, so you make your DPS output for the S3 even higher. And then the extra stats here maybe will come in handy, but the reso effect here isn't something you should actually chase for, which is a very good thing for the current patch, because we have Lien and Sakura at the same patch. then obviously your wish is not going to be enough, right? So I think this is a good patch to actually save if you're not impressed by Ossana. But let me show you what is the potential of Ossana showcase. Right, so this is just a short showcase part to show you how she gained the passive first. So at the start of the battle, she'll instantly get 3 stack of the Phantom Pain. 7 stack, because this is a skill up one from the setting. So 7 stack, which is instantly a 14% of the attack. Alright, so if I apply S3 here, you will see I instantly buff up my stack into 19 stack. So I get 12 stack increase, which is actually my DPS, my attack is increased by 24%. Because every single debuff or trigger on the enemy will consider as one debuff and then apply the stack for her. So if I S1 here and then I S1 assist, the damage output wise for the set is actually pretty good, but as a bleed isn't that good. So if we look at here, there's 3 bleed on the enemy, and if I cast S1 on the enemy, okay, the bleed wise isn't really that high. Like 13k, I know it seems high for now, but if we compare to other crit damage, it is not that high. Right, so S1, you see, normally a crit damage I can just hit like 64k. Meanwhile, the bleed damage I can only trigger like just a few thousand there. Okay, so let me show you one more time when I make them tankier. And because bleed also scales with the enemy defense, so if the enemy defense is higher, the lower value the bleed actually goes. So S1 here, it applies 2 debuff, then it will get 2 stack of Phantom. Okay, so here's 3 bleed, right? So if I S1 now, see, the bleed is only 6,000. Meanwhile, my main damage actually able to crit like 10k. So I'm not saying that the bleed is not good. I'm just saying that if we are trying to make her as the bleed god, that is not what we are supposed to make Ossana, because that is going to be very, very worse. Like I did at the live stream, it's gonna be very worse. But if we make her as a DPS, so let's take Probator as an example. So what I did on Probator as only at 1 team, and this Ossana is gonna be a R0, D0, 0 skill up Ossana. Alright, so something like this, and then no skill up as well. Everything is nothing. So this is the base kit, and then this is equipment I'm trying to test on Ossana. And we have Sachiko here to lower down her CD because you want her to spam her skill. And then Hayley here will share Calamity set and Brawler set for her to increase her DPS. And then we have Chuyao here to apply debuff to the boss, and then we have Yuran here to sleep the boss. And we can actually look at the damage is pretty good as a DPS, but I'm not sure if her DPS is gonna outspeed Embla or Slon or Elif or not. Elif is for sure you can't outspeed out DPS. I'm not sure if the DPS is going to be better than Slon or better than Embla. Not sure yet. But if we are making her as a pure DPS without considering the bleed damage, it's actually pretty good. You can see 300k. And then the damage will go even further because every single debuff we contribute on the boss, the more stack she gain, then the more attack she's gonna get. And then the DPS output from the bleed, because scales with her attack, right? So she's gonna get a lot of attack now, then the higher the bleed damage is. So now we have a lot of bleed here. But another downside, when we have a lot of bleed, because a boss can only have a 12 stack of debuff. So if we look at here, the boss can only have 12 stack of debuff. So if you have max debuff here, and you try to apply a new stack of bleed, it will actually push your previous debuff out of the bar here. So getting too much bleed is also not good, but getting no bleed is not what Ossana is doing. Alright, so we sleep the boss and then do more DPS. So now she has 50 stack. So the 50 stack here will make her have a 100% damage increase due to every stack is 2% here. Alright, so then we can her damage now will skill with attack, skill with crit damage up, crit rate up as well. So you can see 1 hit of damage, 100 something K is pretty good, but it's not as good as the other DPS if we compare. But you can see just now the 170k, it actually have another bleed damage 120k, which makes her damage become 300k. Alright, so sleep and then apply bleed. See, the damage wise is pretty good. It's pretty good, but I'm not sure if we actually compare with other main DPS in the Falsetto Fantasy team, is she still gonna be good? Okay, so it's now 77 stack. Okay, now the boss is awake. But now because of the equipment, it's not really that good, so the boss might actually one-shot us soon. So every S1 now is like 200k, almost going to 300k now. Okay, 95 stack. Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna die here. Oh, not yet. I have the shield to block. Okay, attack up. See if we still take the action. Okay, no chance. Never mind. So I think I would make more showcase about Ossana. I do feel like she has some potential to be a good DPS, but I'm not sure if she is as good as the other DPS we have in game now. But for now, if we are looking at her kit and the Wishstone value, totally not worth. That's my final conclusion at the early first look. Okay, so hope you guys enjoyed the video and see you guys in the next video. Bye bye. Special thanks for the direct support on the YouTube membership. So for the benefactor of Artiar, which is JNMP, Rosas15, Mulkert Rajali, The Bluest Trelane, Cami, thank you so much for the support. And for the supporter and patron of Artiar, which is Louis Schneider, Acne, Code Wilderness, Wang Tamer, Ziggy, Kamaruki, Sunwaltz, Rimu, Shawnee, Von Hexa, Rawson Bessie, Antonio Winterspoon, Marilyn Williams, Uncle Chat, Eric Mendes, Ewan Carraghan, Riku Freds X Iris, and Calamity. Thank you so much for the support. And that's not all. Also special thanks for the direct support on the live stream super chat for the latest 10. So special thanks to Amy, Calamity, Acne, Valento, Tay, Aisha, Code Wilderness, Riku Fred, and Choni. Thank you so much for the support, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video and see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.